Okay, the previous segment of the show was pre-recorded, but we're now back live, and we have got Ken Costello with us right now. Ken, how you doing today?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, to explain to the people, Ken is from the BCN Law Firm. Their numbers are like this. If you want to get a hold of them, 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020. That's 855-LAW-2020, just like the song. But I'll translate it for you. It's 855-529-2020, bcnlawfirm.com. B. Boyette, C. Cummins, N. Nalos. And Ken Costello is with us. What is your specialty at the law firm?
I handle foreclosure defense, bankruptcies, both Chapter 7 to Chapter 13, personal injury matters, and landlord-tenant, other real estate transactional matters as well.
All right. Now that we are back live, we'll open up those phone lines, and you, too, can become part of the program if you have questions about anything dealing with the law, and you don't have to use your real name, 855-297-9696, and we'll take up your calls after the break. But right now, what is the difference? We've only got about 3 minutes. So what is the difference between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13? A lot of people still don't understand that.
A Chapter 7 is a liquidation, so it offers you the most relief from your debts. A Chapter 13 is a reorganization. It allows you to catch up on past due payments. You get into a payment plan. It allows you to keep your assets. Whereas a Chapter 7, you're giving up all the debts. You're getting total relief from all your debts that are eligible to be discharged in Chapter 7.
Okay, when you go for one of those, and do all of the creditors have to agree that they'll enter into a payment plan, or does the judge order that they take a payment plan?
Under a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, the judge orders it. So people who are good candidates for Chapter 13 bankruptcies are people who have fallen behind on their mortgage, maybe they've fallen behind on their car loan, and they want to get caught up. They want to keep the house. They want to keep the car. The judge will compel those creditors to enter into this payment plan where you resume making payments and then you pay what you owe in arrears over time.
And during that time, is your credit affected? Or is it just it's your fault? You're going to get in trouble.
Your credit is affected in bankruptcy. However, in a Chapter 7, for example, because all your debts are wiped out, you will quickly start getting applications in the mail for credit cards. And you can actually start to rebuild your credit pretty quickly. You can get a mortgage again within just a few years, and really it's a way for people to get a fresh start, fresh slate, and start to rebuild their credit rather than just leaving matters unsettled and out there on your credit report. It really allows you to get a fresh start and start fresh and really start to rebuild your credit for the future.
And again, I've often asked the question when I get a bankruptcy attorney in here, why in the world would credit card companies send out a application to somebody who's just gone through a bankruptcy? And the answer has always been, and I'll be interested in yours, it's always been, well, you can't declare for several years, so you're going to pay your darn bills.
There's a couple things. One, you can't declare again for 8 years. So if you run up a balance, you're going to have to pay it back. You don't get to file another bankruptcy for that period of time. And then two, you don't have any other debts. You've just been discharged for all those other debts. So they know they're not going to be competing with other creditors. Whereas somebody else who's built up debts over time, like most of us do, a creditor has to deal with somebody prioritizing those debts. You file bankruptcy, you get discharged, and you start with a fresh slate. The creditor says, hey, let me get in there and get in line. And if you rack up credit, I know you're going to have to pay it back.
Okay, let me ask you this. If somebody doesn't have the money to pay their bills, they may hesitate to come to a lawyer to get their help because they think, well, how am I going to get the money to pay them? How do you work that out?
Well, for foreclosures, for example, let's say you've fallen behind on your mortgage payments, and hey, you need help. You've been sued for foreclosure. We work with you on a low monthly payment plan. It's just $250 a month. You're not billed. You don't get this huge hourly bill at the end of the month. You know it's going to be a flat fee, $250 a month. In that case, you haven't been paying your mortgage. You get to stay in the house while we're defending the foreclosure. You're not making your mortgage payment. You make that $250 a month payment, and we're going to defend that foreclosure for you and keep you in the house during that time.
That sounds good. Okay, if you have questions about any type of law, we're going to open up those phone lines while we hear the news, traffic, and weather. 855-297-9696. We're back live. We have Ken Costello with us of the BCN Law Firm. 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232. You're listening to Ask the Experts on News 96.5. Welcome back. Yes, this is Law 2020, bringing the law into focus, brought your way through the people at the BCN Law Firm. That's Boyette, Cummins, and Nalos. You can give the show a call right now at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. You can call the law firm at 855-LAW-2020. That's 855-LAW-2020. And BCN Law Firm is Boyette, Cummins, and Nalos. They've been practicing in this area for a long time, and they have a number of offices to serve you. The home office is Claremont, where it all began. Lakeland has an office. The Villages has an office in the Santa Fe Office Plaza. And let's see, Winter Park has an office and a satellite office in Sebring. We had a text question, and that was, after a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, how long until someone can buy a home?
As a general rule, you can get a mortgage 3 years after getting discharged from a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. However, there are government programs out there through FHA that are trying to help people be able to qualify even earlier than that. So I would definitely encourage somebody in that situation to go talk to a bank, talk to a mortgage broker. If it hasn't been 3 years, there could be things you could be doing to repair your credit in the meantime to help you get in a better position to qualify for a mortgage, or when it's time to qualify, to get a better rate. One situation we see quite often is somebody who couldn't pay on their mortgage, filed bankruptcy, included the mortgage in the bankruptcy, and thought that they're done with the house. They've moved on. They've moved from the house, and the house is still sitting there in their name until the bank forecloses. So now 2-3 years later, they're getting notices that there's a jury trial, or that the foreclosure is coming to a final hearing, and they think that because the 3 years have gone by, I can go get a mortgage. That's not necessarily the case if you still have the foreclosure sitting out there. So you get that foreclosure judgment. Now that might be some additional time from the date of that foreclosure judgment, the foreclosure sale. So we would encourage you, even if you filed bankruptcy, there's still maybe some incentive for you to work with the bank to sell the property, or to hand the deed over, sign the deed over to the bank, or have some sort of workout, so you can get that clock ticking to get away from that time and help you get qualified for a mortgage sooner.
Ken Costello of the BCN Law Firm. Let me bring this one up to you, and I bet you that you've had more than one of these across your desk with all of the crash activity of the last few years. And folks, don't forget, there are still people under that foreclosure. There's still people that need HARP. But let me ask you this. Okay, somebody is in trouble. They're behind on their payments. They contact the bank. The bank and them are trying to work things out at one end of the hall. On the second floor, the foreclosure department is working on it. While we're trying to get a modification, foreclosure's working on it, and then up pops the HOA, and they instantly file because you're behind on your HOA duties. Now, how many ways can you split a house? So HOA gets a priority?
Believe it or not, the HOA can foreclose, take title to the property, make you move, and they can do it faster than the bank in a lot of situations, because the bank faces hurdles of having to prove that they have standing to bring a foreclosure. When you get a mortgage, it's sold on the secondary mortgage market and transferred several times. The bank has to prove that they're the rightful owner of the note before they can get a foreclosure judgment, which can take months and months, and in some cases years, whereas the HOA is entitled to foreclose, and they don't face the problem the bank does. So the HOA can step in front of the bank, take title to the property. Now, the HOA is not getting the property free and clear.
Right.
What they get is they take title to the property until the bank successfully forecloses and gets the HOA, takes title from the HOA. But what you'll see happen is the HOA will foreclose, get a foreclosure judgment, sell their title to the house on the courthouse steps. And a lot of times investors come in, take title to the property. We see people coming in saying, whoa, they're trying to take my house. The HOA can't do that. Believe it or not, they can. And the investor or the HOA will take title, will rent the property for a period of time until the bank takes the property back and will recoup their money through that rental income.
Wow.
So if you're getting notice that you're behind on your HOA dues and that the HOA is threatening foreclosure, you need to take that very seriously. You need to contact an attorney right away. There's 9 times out of 10, there's a workout that can be had with the HOA that'll prevent foreclosure, or even if they filed foreclosure, that can get them to stop, enter into a payment plan, enter into some sort of settlement. And most HOAs don't want to kick you out of your house and take your property. They just need to get their money.
Right.
And we work with people all the time who are having problems with the HOA. We'll contact the HOA's attorney, and we'll work out some sort of settlement that works for all parties and get you to stay in the house. And we've had people who worked with the bank, finally got approved for a modification after months and months of trying. And although they become current on their mortgage, the HOA is still sitting out there. And because they failed to address the HOA issue, they're facing losing the house to the HOA. So it's very, very important that you're proactive and seek the advice of an attorney to see if you can work out some sort of settlement with the HOA and prevent that from happening.
Okay, so a person goes through and they're getting a foreclosure, they're out of the house, the bank takes the home and sells it, and the deficiency. Now, years ago, there was a bill or there was a law that the deficiency would be waived for a couple of years. I can't remember. And then that ended. Is there any help on the deficiency now, and how long does the bank have to file notice of that deficiency before they get you back in court again and take the rest of your money?
There was a new law passed in July of 2013 that shortened the time the bank has to file for a deficiency judgment against you. A deficiency judgment is at the time of the foreclosure sale. Say the bank gets a foreclosure judgment, it goes to auction. If you owe more than the house is worth, there's a deficiency. So say you owe $300,000, and at the time of the foreclosure auction, the house is only worth $200,000. There's a $100,000 deficiency. Well, the law in 2013 shortened the time the bank has to seek that money against you from 5 years down to 1 year, and it's 1 year from the foreclosure sale date. So from the date that the property is auctioned on the courthouse steps. The best thing you can do is, so you're not sweating it out for that year and worrying about the bank coming after you, is work with the bank. Seek the advice of an attorney. We've helped hundreds of people achieve workouts with the bank, whether it be through the sale of the property, what's called a short sale, a deed in lieu of foreclosure, even retaining the property through a loan modification or through reinstating the loan. And in all that process, a main reason you're doing a short sale, deed in lieu of foreclosure, or even reaching a settlement with a bank where the bank can have the property, but they're agreeing to waive their right to ever seek that deficiency against you. Mm-hmm. That's the main reason you want to work with the bank, other than the lesser impact on your credit that the sale of the property does and the prevention of a foreclosure judgment is getting the bank to put in writing, hey, we're going to take title to the property. You'll have to move, but you'll be done with us at that time. We're never going to come back and seek that money against you. Mm-hmm. We'll never try to garnish your wages or levy your bank accounts, and you won't ever have to worry about that. So it's important, if you haven't been able to keep up with your mortgage payments and the bank is threatening foreclosure, even if they have foreclosed and you're in the process of foreclosure, is seek the advice of an attorney, be proactive, work with the bank, and you can really lessen the impact that a foreclosure has on your life.
Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that as you're going through the process, when you first get behind or first even get a notice from your boss, hey, we may be cutting back a little bit, things are kind of tough in the airboat industry, whatever it is, you should be seeking counsel right then, huh?
Absolutely.
To get all the alternatives on the table.
Absolutely. The worst thing you could do is wait till the last minute. Now, we've had people come in and they have a foreclosure auction date. Judgment's already been entered, and it's a week away. Oh. And we contact the bank's attorney, and we're scrambling, and we've been able to help people in those situations. It's just so much more difficult. Whereas right when you're getting in trouble, be proactive. Contact an attorney. We'll reach out to the bank on your behalf and start working with them right away. Because from the time you miss that first payment, the clock is ticking. Okay? And you need to be proactive, get in front of it. Sometimes the bank will even hold off on filing foreclosure or seeking that final judgment of foreclosure because you're working with the bank. Now,
let's talk about that time clock again. Tell us about the time clock of Now, when you file the foreclosure is filed, and everything's done, and you leave the premises, the clock still hasn't started toward that 3 years of waiting for a new loan until the house actually sells, right? When the bank actually sells it to Tim.
That's right. Now, a foreclosure is a little bit different with regards to when you can get a mortgage again.
Mm-hmm.
If you go through a foreclosure and a foreclosure judgment's entered and the house is auctioned off, the wait can be anywhere up to 7 years before you can get a new mortgage.
Wow.
Whereas if you're proactive, you go out, you list the house for sale. Even if you owe more than the house is worth, you go out, you get an offer for the market value of the house, come to our office, we'll work with the bank to negotiate and have the bank accept the market value in full satisfaction of the loan. And now you prevent that foreclosure judgment from being entered. You get the bank to agree to waive that deficiency. And you're able to buy a house sooner. It lessens the impact on your credit, and you don't have to worry about the bank seeking a personal judgment against you for the deficiency.
So you have all these clowns that are bragging around the water cooler. I've lived in my house for 5 years. I haven't made a payment. The bank and I aren't even talking. Well, they're just lengthening the time before they can buy another house.
Not only that, when the bank finally does foreclose, they do have the possibility of being sued for the deficiency.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're proactive, I mean, heck, you don't know what's out there. We've seen people get fantastic offers on loan modifications to get to stay in the house at a more affordable payment.
Yeah. Well, the bank wants to keep those interest payments coming in.
That's right.
855-297-9696. Text us at 21232, 855-297-9696. Here comes 3 big things you need to know. Hey, it's called Law 2020. That's right, Law 2020. The BCN Law Firm, Boyette, Cummins, and Nalos. And we have Ken Costello with us today. Ken can help you with all kinds of things legal, but mainly with foreclosure, bankruptcy, and wow, it's not in the headlines anymore, but is it still pretty prevalent out there in our economy?
We're still seeing a lot of people facing foreclosure. What happened is when the new law was passed in 2013, it required the banks to get all their paperwork in order before they filed foreclosure. So instead of filing a lawsuit and the case dragging on for years, the banks are waiting. They're required to get all their paperwork together to prove that they're entitled to enforce the note, and then they're filing the foreclosure. So that's delayed a lot of filings from cases that are mortgages that have been in default for some time. So we're still seeing people who were unable to make payments back in 2012, 2011, who are just now getting foreclosed on. So it's still a problem. We still see several cases a week where people come in and are having issues with their mortgage company, and we're still helping people get workouts with the bank, whether they want to keep the house or they say, hey, let's liquidate. Let's get out of this thing. And that's part of our job at BCN is to counsel you. We sit down with you. We take a look at your full financial picture and say, you know what? I understand you want to keep this house. You have an emotional attachment to the house, which a lot of people get. But here's another way to look at it. This is an opportunity for you to get a fresh start away from the burden of this mortgage that's been weighing on your mind. I know that so many people come in and they're under so much stress because they just know that this foreclosure is looming out there. And we find when people make the commitment to either sell the house or work with the bank to have some sort of liquidation where they can get out from under it, when it gets done, they walk out with a sigh of relief that they don't have to deal with this anymore and they can get a fresh start elsewhere. And we will advise you on whether or not that's the best option for you. If you want to keep it and you've gotten a new job, you have new income, and hey, I can catch up on my payments, I can make my payments now, we will work aggressively with the bank to get you into a loan modification, get you under new repayment terms that are sustainable for you long term. And if you get a modification offer, we sit down, we review all the paperwork with you and say, hey, is this the best idea for your financial future to enter into this? We've had people who've worked for some time to get a loan modification. When it comes, maybe their situation's changed, maybe the terms aren't what's right for them, and we'll advise them, all right, let's shift gears. Let's get you out from under this mortgage and get you moving on to a future where you're not in this this house that's upside down or this debt instrument that's looming over all your entire financial picture. So we'll advise you. We'll take into account your whole situation. And that's really what we do. We want to develop a relationship with our clients so they keep coming back to us for all their legal needs.
So that you're not all in that funk, you're not in the fog, you're not worried. You know, I hate it when people have something like this happen in their life, maybe through no fault of their own. Sometimes the economy throws you a real fastball, and you turn around, you think you're a failure, you think you failed your family. Yeah, I'll never forget, I was telling Wade one day that I met this family. I was going into one of the law firms up where I live, and I was going in for a courtesy call, and there was a family sitting out there. And I was the stupid one. I start talking about him, and I said, well, where do you live? And the mother said, oh, we live over in Bellevue. And then the little boy pops up and says, yeah, Daddy lost our house. Can you imagine the way that father must have felt right then? You know, perfect stranger, Daddy lost our house. So wouldn't it be better for him to have sought an attorney? And that's why I guess what he was doing there. But I imagine he felt much better on the way out.
And that's the thing. Just talking about it and understanding your options will make you sleep better. The instant you know, you move forward with a game plan. Whether that game plan is, hey, let's get out from under this thing. I know a way we can do it now. Or I think we have a good plan to keep the house. Just doing that, you'll go home and you'll sleep better at night. Just talking to a professional. I have people who will leave the office and they come in, they're stressed out. They have not been able to sleep. They leave, they're smiling, they're excited about the direction we're going. And at the end of the process, they say, thank God we came and saw you. And, we feel so much better about our future and just knowing what options are out there.
I can imagine that before they see you, Ken Costello at the BCN Law Firm, I'm sure that they're in bed and they're dreaming, waiting for that. They're thinking that the sheriff's going to come the next day and kick them out.
Yeah, and if all you learn by going to an attorney is that they can't just come kick you out in the middle of the night, if that's all you learned, that'll help put your mind at ease.
Oh, I can't imagine being under that stress. 855-LAW-2020. That's 855-529-2020. 855-529-2020. Please, folks, don't try to do this on your own. Don't listen to the guy at the water cooler who says, oh, I haven't even talked to the bank in 5 years, still living in the house, everything's fine. Well, it's not going to be fine forever. So you take it into your own hands and take control, get that house into the process, short sale, modify, whatever you're going to do, and then move on to your next house and forget it. It's in your past, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
Down to the last minute. Okay, what's the first thing people should do if they're going to miss a payment?
Contact an attorney. Get a plan. Make a decision. All right, hey, are we going to move forward and try to keep this house? Are we going to move forward and let's get out of this thing? One way or the other, meet with an attorney, call BCN Law Firm. We'll sit down with you. We'll go over your whole financial picture, and we'll advise you on the right direction to go, and we'll get a plan together for your future.
And I bet if they called the bank, they'd get some receptionist who says, well, you might as well start packing. That reception ain't going to help you.
Do not listen to what the bank tells you. I've had so many people come into the office and say, well, the bank said as long as I'm working on a loan modification, I don't have to worry about the foreclosure. That's not true.
Not true.
Seek the advice of an attorney.
BCN Law Firm. That's bcnlawfirm.com. 855-529-2020. We'll see you next Sunday.